Hello everyone, this is Soka speaking from soka.com. Today I'm going to walk you through how to install SQL Server 2012 Express version with SSMS. SSMS stands for SQL Server Management Studio. So let us head over to Internet Explorer and download the Express version. Once you're there, just type in the search engine SQL Server 2012 Express with tools, press the return key, and you should see something like this on your screen. And you want to click on here. It will take you to Microsoft website. And once you're there, you should see something like this on your screen. And just walk through quickly about the hardware requirement and all of that. Make sure your system that you intended to install the SQL Server meet the hardware requirement. And then select your language of choice. Click on download. The file is about 1 GB, so it can take a while to download, depend on your internet speed. So I'm gonna pause this video and do the download. And after the download completed, let us go through the process of installing the Server 2012. What you need to do is unzip the file and then double click on the exe file. You should see something like this on your screen. You have a couple options here. On my system, I have 2008 SQL Server. But I'm going to choose the first option here. So the first option is New SQL Server Standalone Installation. Click on that. Once you click on that, it takes you to the next screen, which allows you to select the features that you want to install. I would recommend that just put the check mark on everything. On the Express version, it might be different from the screenshot that you see on your screen right now. This is the full SQL Server. On the Express version, you don't have all the features like the full version. But anyway, put the check mark on everything and then click on Next. Once you click on Next, it asks you about the name of instance. On your screen, you might have a dot on the default instance. I would recommend put a dot here and then give the name of your instance. In my case, I have 2008 SQL on my computer. So for me to distinguish between 2008 and 2012, I call mine SQL Express 2012. And once you click the button down here, whatever you type up here, it should be the same right here. And leave this screen the same and then just click on Next. Once you click on Next, you should see something like this. It asks you about the login authentication. You have two options. Option one is window authentication mode, and the other one is mixed mode. I would recommend for the development machine, select the first option, Windows authentication mode. So once you put a dot up here, click on Next, and the installation will go through the process. Now it might take about 1 hour to 2 hours, depend on your system hardware. So I'm gonna pause the video and we'll come right back after the installation completed. Okay, the installation was completed. So the next thing we want to do is test the new SQL Server 2012. Make sure everything's work according to plan. And I'm going to test it using SSMS, which is SQL Server Management Studio. And what you need to do is head over to Start, and then click on All Programs. Click on Microsoft SQL Server 2012. You should see an option that says SQL Server Management Studio. Go ahead and click on that. Now this can take about 10 to 20 seconds depend on your hardware. On my machine here I'm using a 32-bit Windows 7, but the speed and performance should be the same in Windows 8, and of course depend on your hardware. And since this system is not really that fast, and I have a bunch of stuff running, so it's a bit slow. I would just wait for a second here. It should load up any moment. So here it is. The first screen that you see should be something like on your screen right now. And remember, during the installation, we give it a name. This instance name, that's instance name show up right here. So I give it an SQL Express 2012. And you should do the same. Just to make it easier to remember. And remember, we chose window authentication during the installation, which is the first option here. So it show up right here, window authentication. So select that and make sure the top is a database engine. Leave everything else the same. Click on connect. And there it is. We make the connection, and you can see the green arrow here, and here's your database. If you click on this plus sign here to expand, so right now our database is basically empty since this is a brand new database, and I'm gonna create a new database. So click on this thing here that says new query. So now we're testing the new database, make sure the connection works and everything works according to plan. Now on your screen, you might not see this number 1. I'm gonna press the enter key a couple times, and you see there's a number on the left hand column. As you type the command in SQL, is called tsql. It will show me which line number. It's just easy for me to keep track of. On your system, you might not see the number here. In order for you to see the number, you need to go to Tools, click on Options, click on Text Editor, Transact SQL, and put where it says line number. Make sure you have a check mark in there. The default is no check mark. So after you put the check mark, you can click OK. Then when you come back, you will see this column number on the left hand side. And also what I did on mine, the default font size is too small for my eyes. If you go to environment and then fonts and color, make sure the top here says text editor, plain text right here. The font I leave it the same, but I changed the font size to 24. I believe the original was size 10. It was just too small for my eyes. So I changed it to 24 and then hit OK. So this is the size I'm getting. You can also go down here and click on the zoom level, but I just don't like to go here and then click on the zoom level all the time, since I know I'm going to be needing the big text. So I'm just leave it at the settings so that it will be big all the time. Okay, let us create a new database. Notice on the left hand side, this is the default database created by SQL and on the new installation system. So I'm gonna type a command to create a new database. So I type create database, Now in SQL, the command is in blue. This is similar to Visual Studio, and it can be upper or lowercase. I just prefer to type my command in uppercase, and then the bracket and the semicolon at the end of the line. This is a habit I pick up from C++, but you don't need the semicolon, and you need the bracket, and then the name of the database. So I'm gonna call it SOCA_database 2012. So you need this command to create. You need this command to create the database, and then the database name inside this bracket, open bracket, close bracket, and it with a semicolon. And then to execute this command, you can click on this execute or press F5. For this tutorial, I'm going to use the mouse so that way you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to click on execute. Now keep your eye on the left hand side here. Right now we don't see SOCA database 2012 yet. So here we go. And you can see down here, command completed successfully. So that means this database now created, SOCA DB 2012. But notice you don't see it on the left hand side, so you have to refresh it. So click on this funny arrow here, and then click on the plus sign. There it is, SOCA DB 2012. So this is our new database, and in the next section I'm gonna show you how to download a sample database. And the reason we want to go through this command here, just to double check, make sure that the new database we install works correctly. So we know that it can create the database, we have the permission to do so. And the next step we want to do is download a sample database. So that way we have sample data to work with. So you want to head over to Internet Explorer, go to Codeplex, and in the search area, type in AdventureWorks Database 2012. So you should see the result something like this on your screen. And you have a bunch of options like this. I chose option 1 here. And so the download completed, and we tested SQL Server Management Studio. So it's able to create the database, so that's all good. And the next thing we want to do is attach the sample database that we downloaded, which is the AdventureWorks database. And after you downloaded the zip file, unzip the file, and then move it over to the location where you install your 2012 Express version SQL. In my case, I install it on my C drive inside Programs, Microsoft SQL Server, and all of that inside Data. So what I did, I just unzipped the AdventureWorks 2012 database sample. This should contain 2 files. There's a data.mdf, and then there's a log LDF. So you want both of the files inside this folder. So we're gonna head over back to SSMS. So here it is. We're gonna learn how to attach that sample data. Notice right now that database is not in here, the AdventureWorks. So we can attach it. You want to put your mouse on this database, right click on it, and they give you option to attach. So you click on attach, And right now it's asking for the location of the database. So you want to click on Add. And here it is. This is the location of my SQL Express 2012. And as you can see, the AdventureWorks 2012 database is this one. So click on it once to highlight it, and then click on OK. So it loaded the AdventureWorks 2012 database, and it gives you some more information down here, the location of the file, and everything looks good. Click on OK. And as you see on the left hand side, it added AdventureWorks 2012 SQL database. This is a sample database, and you can click on the plus sign here, click on tables, and these are the sample data, which a bunch of stuff. Let's see, let's check on human resources department. Right click on that. Let's select top 1000 rows. So here it is. This is the sample data of AdventureWorks 2012, and you can see this is the sample data down here, and this is a schema right here. So everything all good. So this is a sample data you can work, and in the next segment, I'm gonna show you how to delete this database. Is SocaDB 2012. On this line here, we created the database. In the next line, I'm gonna drop it. So we want to drop database. So you want to use the keyword drop database, open bracket, the name of your database, close bracket, semicolon. Now you have two commands, one to create, one to drop. In SQL Server Management Studio, you can tell it which command you want to execute by highlighting just that line. So I'm gonna highlight this drop database line. When you highlight it like this, you're telling the database you want to execute just that command, not the one on line 1. I just want to execute on line 2. So once this thing highlighted, click on execute, and you can see down here it said command completed successfully. So that means SOCA 2012 database should be gone, but you notice you can still see it on the left hand side. All you need to do, just refresh it, and after you refresh it, that database should be gone from your list. There it is. So like I said, depend on your system performance. The operation can take a while. On my system here, it's not so fast. Next, I'm going to show you how to detach the database. Why you want to detach it? Well, maybe you want to do a backup on the database, or do something that require you to disconnect the database. So the easy way to do that is just right click on the database itself. So just right click on it, go to task, and the option to detach. Now notice there's an option that says take offline. Take offline, if you click on that, I'm gonna do it right now. See that? It take the database offline. So that's a bit different than the detach operation. So I'm gonna bring it back online. Go to detach. So here it is, the AdventureWorks, and I'm gonna click OK. Notice the database is gone. Now if I check on the C drive where the database is located, you see the AdventureWorks is still there, but it just detached from SQL Server Management Studio, unlike when we do the drop operation. When we did this operation here, it just delete the database SOCA-DB 2012 from the hard drive. Notice there's no SOCA-DB 2012, but when you use the detach, the database still in there, it just currently detached from it. Now this is a safe way to back up your database so that you don't want any data to alter. You know, maybe someone is accessing your database and you don't want that to happen while you're doing the backup, so you might want to disconnect it from the SQL first. But that's it. That's how you install SQL Express 2012, test the database, create it, make sure create a sample database, make sure it works correctly, and then you can just kill it, install sample database. Okay, that's it. If you have any question, drop me an email. Thank you for watching.